How do you know what you know? Stay tuned. This is Damon with NLP Gem, NLP and Intuition. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. I've often had the conversation with someone, especially when I'm coaching them, how do you know what you know? When somebody tells me it's like this or it's like that, and I'll say, well, how do you know that? And they'll think about it and they'll come back and say, well, I just know. But I will say, how do you know? How do you know that? And they'll think about it for a while, and often the answer is, well, it's intuition. What is intuition and where does it come from? Is intuition some aliens piping in thoughts to your brain somehow? Or some divine being sort of just dropping information into your brain? No, of course not. Intuition is an unconscious decision or an unconscious generalization about something. Before we have that intuition, though, we have to take in information externally before we make that generalization or that decision or that choice or some sort of assessment. There is something you are seeing, hearing, and feeling before you have the intuition. That part is unconscious. Therefore, when you suddenly come up with the idea or the assessment or the generalization that you come up with, it seems like it comes from nowhere. If you walk it back and you trace your steps, you will find that there is something you saw, heard, or felt, or some combination of the two. In some cases, you could have even smelled or tasted something and made some sort of assessment. Any of the five senses, you took in information externally. This was very unconscious, and at some point you came up with this idea, this generalization that seemed like a phenomenon we call intuition. NLP is about modeling excellence, and if you've ever had the opportunity to talk to someone who was absolutely excellent at something, like someone who was above or at the top of their game in a certain area, and you ask them how did they become that good at what they're doing, they will tell you one or two things. Either they don't know. In some cases, people really don't know. They cannot give you a good answer as to why they are so talented or why they're so good at what they do. In other cases, they will tell you what they think is the reason why they're good at what they do. What NLP does is it creates models for that. NLP is about modeling the excellence and leaving out all the stuff that doesn't belong, and also trying to leave out as much content as possible and use purely process. And what that basically means is when somebody is asked how they became so good at something, a lot of times they will tell a story about their life, a story about something that happened. That's more content. In NLP, we want to know what you see, hear, feel, smell, taste, in some cases, that led you to this, that leads you to this ability, in other words. Neurologically, some things you do have to practice. If you're an athlete, you can't just know what the athlete takes in with his five senses or her five senses and be able to do what the athlete does. Neurologically, you will have to practice that and exercise that. However, you can gain insight into why they are as good as they are by knowing what they're seeing, hearing, and feeling and what sequence that comes in. That's called strategies in NLP. So whether you're conscious of it or not, you are always taking in information through your five senses. Often when we have an intuition, it can seem a bit mysterious. Therefore, we think it must be true. And a lot of people pride themselves on their intuition, and when they're right about their intuition, they tend to think that because they had an intuition that it must be correct in some way. But we've all had intuitions that were wrong. In fact, your intuition is probably wrong just as much as any other assessment or any other well thought out decision or choice that you've made. What is the importance of understanding how you create intuition or develop intuition? It's important to know how you make the decisions that you make, especially the ones that are unconscious, because you might be making decisions that are so unconscious that they're really not good decisions for you. How many times have you walked onto a car lot in your life, saw a car, and you just knew that was the car for you, and before you even heard what benefits and features it had, you just bought it? Maybe the car, something about the shape of it, reminded you of a car that was in your childhood that you have a lot of fond memories of, and maybe that triggered it. There could be so many things that triggered why you make such a quick assessment about something. In advertising and in the media, they use the same tactics. Instead of describing benefits and features of something, they go to more process than content. Benefits and features would be content, what you see here and in some cases feel when you're watching a commercial or something that's trying to persuade or convince you something, they tend to go more toward images, colorful images, bright images, and music that evokes certain feelings and certain emotions. That is going to sell you on something much faster than describing all the benefits and features. When you start looking at benefits and features, which I recommend that you do before you make a major purchase, what it does is it makes us very conscious of what the benefits and features, and comparing or trying to figure out the value, and is this really worth my money? And a lot of times what happens is people become so analytical about that when they're trying to make a decision based on benefits and features that they just default to not buying it. I know this in my own experience with sales. You have to be really careful about how many benefits and features you throw at someone, and instead you have to appeal to their emotions. I, as a salesperson, would do both. I think that's the ethical way to do that. Whether it was making a major purchase or being persuaded to do something that was a bit out of character for you, go back to one of these incidents and go to the point at which you made the decision to do whatever it was, and then start tracing it back. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel that led up to that? The better you understand your process, your internal process for making decisions, making generalizations, and coming upon an intuition, the better decisions you're going to make, the more informed decisions you're going to make, and the less you will be likely to fall for something that is not actually good for you or is not what you actually want. Check out our website, nlp-gym.com. Follow us on Facebook for real-time updates on upcoming workshops that we have, and also free practice sessions that I hold right here in Santa Cruz. On the website, you will be able to sign up for the Ultimate Practitioner Training. This is an NLP training that will be the most comprehensive practitioner training that I know of in the country, and will have incredible talent like Mark Andreas, Dr. Sid Jacobson, and Judith Delosier, and myself, of course. If you like this video, please click like right down here and leave a comment or even a question. I'll follow up with you. Stay tuned to the end of this video so you can see how you can get your hands on a free NLP online training. Take care.